It's the phrase «Rybak, rybaka vidит издалека». When I came, there was marshrutkhi. Spiritual energy has formed in Petersburg. What's the word? Sometimes I think of Russian words when I'm trying to speak. Like,
don't worry, say it in Russian, I will translate in English.
All the people are different. Some people are better at mathematics, some people are better at running. I would say Russians are better at feeling. It is nice working with Russian film crews. It turns from, instead of being, let's say, 50 individual people, very quickly becomes like bloop, and it is one organism. I've played a lot of Germans. I've been killed twice, I think, on screen.
Zvezda Holding presents Dynamic Spectrum Talks now.
Hello, dear friends. This is the Dynamic Spectrum Talks podcast, a place where we meet with interesting people from all over the world, with the obvious aim to erase artificially created dividing lines between peoples and nations, because we all know and understand that people all around the world are more or less the same. We share same values, sometimes same aspiration, and of course we are looking to build a sustainable and happy future for all of us. And because of that, we are meeting here with our guests in order to rediscover each other and to know people and nations better. Since the start of our podcast, representatives of various professions with different views and cultures have visited our studio, but today's guest is quite special. He's a truly all-around person. Today's conversation will take place via video call, but we live in a modern world with all digital opportunities, and distance is fading away. This is why we can meet and speak absolutely free. Our guest is a man from the country that gave the world Shakespeare, the humor of Charlie Chaplin and Monty Python, as well as commitment to traditions that survive any storm. Straight from foggy Albion, or from the Great Britain, an actor, teacher, translator, writer and blogger, Mr. Craig Ashton. Craig, hello and welcome.
Hello, thank you very much. Nice to talk to you.
Craig, let's talk about you, because the most important, of course, is to get first-hand impressions and information from our guests. Please tell us your unique story. How a man from Great Britain, being a British citizen, started to study Russian language and then moved to Russia, lived here, especially in St. Petersburg, for more than 20 years. How you got through this cultural immersion, and please tell us about your journey and your personal life path.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, I think this is actually the first time I've answered this question in English. I just realized usually I'm answering it in Russian. People ask me. I don't think I've said it before, so hopefully I'll be able to do it. I started learning Russian when I was in school, and it was coming up to university. I had to choose a course. So I wanted to study languages. I already studied German, which I enjoyed, but I decided I needed a language which wasn't European or wasn't exactly European. And so I took a look at Chinese, I took a look at Japanese, but I didn't really feel a connection to it. It looked interesting, absolutely, but I didn't feel anything when I considered it. And since I grew up with a lot of American propaganda films like Rocky IV and Rambo, films where Russians are shown as big, murderous, ultra-muscular, like Schwarzenegger.
They look like very ugly, I must say. You know, when I see these actors, I understand that they have nothing common with other people. Even the appearance of these actors are absolutely different.
Well, that was a big shock for me, actually, when I got to Russia. And nobody looks like Schwarzenegger. But like previously, everybody had looked like these big, massive, you know, they've taken a lot of, steroids. So their faces have changed. And then Russians, you arrive and, they're just people. Okay, that's nice. So I really felt like there was something a little mysterious, of course, about Russian. They don't teach us about Russia in school. They don't teach us about your history or your culture. We know maybe words like Rasputin because of songs like Ra Ra Rasputin, but nothing really clear. So it's always as if looking through a misty mirror, perhaps. So I wanted to find out. I wanted to learn more. So I was drawn more to Russia. And of course, since the culture is Christian, and we're very Christian in England, or at least my family is, it felt like I would have a very good chance of making a connection. So that's why I chose Russian. Plus, of course, the alphabet looks very interesting. Looks very strange.
Some sort of mix of Greek alphabet and Latin alphabet, right?
yeah, exactly. It's just it's symbols the first time you see it, and then it's strange symbols, and then Latin, and I know these letters, and then it's strange symbols again, then it's Latin again. Like, okay, I think maybe I can learn this, and then you start to learn it, and you realize that all the Latin symbols have different sounds to our Latin symbols, and you think, I should have done Spanish. This was a mistake. It was really hard at the beginning to reprogram the brain to look at the letter P and pronounce it. I can't even pronounce it properly. But anyway, so that's why I chose Russian, and that's why I came to Russia, was to learn the language, essentially.
Okay. As we all know, you came to Russia 23 years ago. So, or 22 years ago, more than 20 years ago. It was St. Petersburg. You were a student and you came here to study in Russia, to study Russian language, to understand and feel our culture. Please tell us about your experience, through these 20-something years, especially with focus on St. Petersburg.
All right. So when I arrived, the city looked very different to how it looks now. Obviously, just at the time, Russia was still moving out of the communist era. And so the cars were very different. Everybody drove either a Lada, or what was that famous Soviet car that people wanted? Could you remind me, please?
I think it is Volga. Moskvich. Volga is an upper class car. Medium class is like different versions of Lada. Slightly below is Moskvich, and Zaporozhets or Tavria is like entry level for those who can afford something better.
Yeah, so it was all these cars essentially on the roads, and nowadays it's Range Rovers. Everyone's got a Range Rover or an Audi or a BMW in Petersburg.
Strange that you mentioned Range Rover, because it's a British car, which is not...
Well, of course, we notice our own. It's the phrase, rybaka vidит издалека. So let's see. So, and at the time, the city looked very tired. The facades were broken and the roads were not such high quality. Whereas nowadays, the city center is spectacular. It's very bright. It's very flashy. All the facades have been polished and cleaned and restored to how they would have looked at the time of the Tsars. So, and it's much more comfortable to get around nowadays. When I came, there was marshrutki. Obviously, there's no marshrutka anymore in Petersburg. And I had to learn how to use a marshrutka. And I had to use a paper map to get around. And I would say as well, it was a bit darker at night 20 years ago.
So nowadays, more light.
It's more light, yeah. Absolutely more light. And even then it felt pretty safe. Now it feels extremely safe. I would say it's lighter and safer than Manchester, definitely. I don't walk around in Manchester at night. But in Petersburg, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, you're fine. You're okay. So, the feeling of safety is definitely increased. And the feeling of perhaps, I don't know how Petersburg feel about themselves. So they were always proud of their heritage and their history and their culture.
Yeah, but now I feel that capital of Russian Empire. So former capital of Russia. So they want to restore their former glory. They feel passionate and proud about themselves.
Absolutely, yeah. And now they're definitely doing that. It feels like there's a lot of, spiritual energy has formed in Petersburg around this identity of being the cultural capital. And so there's just everywhere you go, there's posters for the theater, there's posters for concerts, there's posters about books, there's book presentations by authors. It's got a really strong, now it's really clear why it's called the cultural capital.
Let's go from, let's say, a huge city, which is St. Petersburg. It's like 10 million of people. And let's focus on the minor towns, because currently you're in Great Britain, and recently you have visited a small city or a town or, village. How do you describe? where you showed very interesting videos. The city called town called Whitby, right? So and you found some similarity with Saint Petersburg, the city we were just talking about. What is so special, maybe even not special? From my perspective, a small town somewhere at the eastern England and a huge, metro area as St. Petersburg is, what is common between them? The bridge, I remember. The bridge is something that unites.
We've got a
both
bridge
places.
too. The bridge which was opening for the boats to come through was really nice to see, because obviously in Petersburg I've been to see the bridges and watch the boats going through, and I've also had to wait because of the bridges, which is a bit of a pain. But it is a cultural phenomenon specific to Petersburg, and so it was nice to see a very small version of that cultural phenomenon in my own country, in Whitby. Now, I would say because they're both on the coast, they're both like seaside towns, essentially. Although Petersburg isn't exactly a seaside town, it's a port, it's still next to the sea. So that brings with it a certain kind of, what's the word? Sometimes I think of Russian words when I'm trying to speak. Like,
Don't worry, say it in
culture.
Russian, I will translate in English.
I've forgotten the Russian word now. But let's say the culture of the sea. Yeah, it has the culture of the sea and water in the city included. So Whitby was a fishing town, and Petersburg is a port, which I would say are definitely connected. It has that kind of soul of the seaman, I suppose. Moryakai is what I want to say. All right. So anyway, there's also the fact that in Whitby, the story of Dracula was based. So Dracula came across and landed in Whitby, and obviously vampires today are a huge cultural phenomenon, essentially. And there's films and books just all the time. Like, what's it called? Twilight, for example. There's a huge vampire thing. Blade and Interview with the Vampire with Tom Cruise. It's a massive thing, and it started in England. So we can be proud of our literary canon in England. And I think you can feel it in the town. Everybody who hears Whitby, they kind of associate it with Dracula and Bram Stoker. And obviously Petersburg, you've got Pushkin, which is the center of the Russian literary canon. You've got Gogol, I believe, his statue's there anyway. I'm not sure if he lived in Petersburg. He did live in Petersburg, didn't he, Gogol?
He used to visit.
I used to visit. I apologize. It's because his statue's on my street, so I see him every day. That's why I associate him with Petersburg. But there's a lot of writers and a lot of literature in St. Petersburg. And it's also a city where people read a lot. And Russians in general read a lot, but in Petersburg, they really read a lot. And it's an important thing. So I would say literature in a certain way connects the two cities a little bit, at least. Obviously, Whitby isn't the center of English literature, but it does have that rather important book, Bram Stoker's Dracula, which does connect them. And apart from that, I would say the weather to a certain extent. Obviously, Petersburg's sky has many more shades of grey than Whitby's sky, but because of the sea air coming in and the air coming off the mountains in Yorkshire, we get a lot of cloud in Whitby. And there was a slightly similar feeling when you have that kind of like a low ceiling. I want to say niski patolog, sorry. You have a low ceiling of cloud in Petersburg, so you're walking like this, so you don't touch the clouds. There was a little bit of that in Whitby as well.
All right. Okay. Seems to be a nice little town. Probably everyone should visit if they have such opportunity. Okay. Craig, one of the most fascinating aspects of your work is the books. So you have dedicated some of them to your Russian experience. So precisely, we were very interested in your book. I don't know the exact English translation. Maybe you can assist me with. In Russian, it sounds «Русских за пазухой», which could be translated as what is something not hidden, but what's something there inside inside Russians. I don't know how to translate it correct. Think about
it's
it.
It's impossible to translate. I'll try in a minute. Go on, sorry.
Yes, in English it would be something living with Russians, like a pig and a clover.
yeah, like that. Yeah, exactly.
So, allow me to quote a phrase that particularly touched us. Every year I love the Russian language more and more. I don't remember the exact moment when I can't turn into I love it and I can't help it. I don't know, is it correct translation again, but in Russian it sounds very, very touching and very, I would say, mystic from a certain point of view, because through pain you get gain and you start to love it, which is a very not a unique but not typical transition, I would say.
Yeah. It's really unfortunate that I can't translate these phrases. Like, they sound so nice in Russian, and I can't do it in my own language, unfortunately. So yeah, I mean, getting to a feeling of love through pain, I would say anybody who's tried to run half a marathon, I suppose, and then who's started to love it, of course, afterwards, would understand the concept of, yeah, that was really hard. In fact, that was painful. However, it was an experience that took me closer almost to God or to the universe in some way. I felt alive. Yeah, you couldn't not notice that you're alive. In fact, the phrase "U Christos zapazuchoi" I would translate as "you don't even know you're born." So you don't know that you're alive. You're unaware of how hard the world is. So when you put yourself through some kind of big test, some kind of huge challenge, you realize, oh my gosh, I exist. Yeah, and it hurts, and this is hard. However, when you get to the end and you've achieved what you wanted to achieve, you're going to experience something. It's probably one of the greatest feelings that a human being can get, is going through difficulty and pain to get the thing that you want. Probably a lot of fantasy stories are about this, yeah, going to get the magical sword, or to defeat the dragon, or whatever, to reach the top of the mountain. So yeah, Russian was like that for me. It was very hard. At times I just thought, I'm never going to understand this. It's just, I'm not going to be able to explain the difference between ехать and ездить. It's just not going to happen. Or is it езжать? And even now I'm still not sure. And I still make mistakes. But yeah, most of it after a while I got, and once like words like je, okay, that's a word, yeah, je or je, that was a hard word to learn, and aj and uj, these tricky little words which add like a twist, like a little elegant flavor to a sentence, and it's really hard to learn them. But once you've got them and you can use them, I don't know. It's like learning how to paint or paint a picture, and learning how to use extra colors. So not just red, blue, and yellow, yeah? But you can use like magenta and puce, and you can blend and create exactly the picture that you want to do. So I still can't do it in Russian, to be honest. I'm still not a master of the language. My Russian
but you're doing great.
Is still...
Your Russian is better than my English, so definitely you reached a certain result you may be proud.
I am happy. I am proud of it. I'm always going on, though. It's not going to finish. I'm never going to finish. But yeah, I am very happy with
to be honest, I can confess, I'm also not the master of the Russian language, despite this is my native language, because I think only pure genius could achieve outstanding results. I mean, like Dostoevsky or Tolstoy, they were not just writers telling stories. They were profound, I would say, they had profound understanding of the language, the all colors and all shades of the language. So like Pushkin, for example, they created, I would say, modern Russian language, not the language we speak and use daily, but I would say literature language. And you need to get a certain feeling and understanding of the language before you can proceed and in obtaining the skills of expressing yourself the way they could. So this topic with language is quite interesting, because we all know that English is number one language in the world. I mean, most of the information we can get from internet is in English. English is the language of all instructions, of all algorithms used by machines, AI, etc. So it's a very, I would say, easy and applicable language for technical purposes. But when we talk about the feelings, which are quite a different moment, and everybody feels differently. I would say that English maybe not the best one to express yourself. Maybe, I don't know, maybe French fits better. I'm not saying, but Russian literature, from my perspective, is famous because of the different layers of feelings that language allows to express and to understand. This is the superpower of our language, from my perspective. Maybe you have your opinion, but this is how we see it.
No, it's an interesting. I don't know the answer to that. I would hazard a guess. My personal linguistic philosophy would be something like it's not so much the superpower of your language, but the superpower of your people, the kind of the русская душа.
Oh, agree.
Although a lot of Russians say that there is one, a lot of Russians say that there isn't one. I think there is one. And I would say that, all the people are different. Some people are better at mathematics. Some people are better at running. I would say Russians are better at feeling. It's just like a natural skill that you have. As such, your language has developed to express those feelings, because there are things I cannot say in English, which I completely understand in Russian, and they're just not translatable. You're not going to translate it. You can't, because the other person perhaps hasn't felt it in that way or to that extent. So that would be my explanation personally. But I'm not saying that I'm right. It's just the feeling that I get.
All right. Let's leave language and the books for a while.
Yeah, let's go to show.
Yeah, let's focus on cinema. So you had a experience, not maybe extensive, but still you had experience in shooting in Russian movies. Your first try was in 2013. You made your debut in the military series Ladoga, playing a Wehrmacht soldier. So the action takes place in besieged Leningrad during the harsh winter of 1941. So Soviet counterintelligence, according to the plot, is trying to prevent sabotage of the road of life, the only route by which food, medicine, and other supplies are delivered to the city. So, and as it turns out, the enemy may be hiding among the Soviet soldiers, among, let's say, friends, etc. So, and you play the role there. Could you please share with us with your experience?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I was very lucky. I was in the right place at the right time. I was working for a gentleman called Dmitry Mesiev. He's a film director, and he was tasked with filming Ladoga, The Road of Life. At the time, because of a certain conflict in the world, I don't remember which conflict it was, but a lot of actors couldn't come from Europe to Russia. And so they'd already cast the whole film, but suddenly the actors weren't going to come. And at this moment, I went up to Dmitry and I said about his new film, do you need any British soldiers? Maybe I can play an extra, yeah? And he said, I don't need any British soldiers, but do you speak German? I said, yes. He said, okay, you're a pilot. And the conversation took that long, and I was a film actor. So after that, after working and getting some experience acting, which was actually very hard, I had to do it in German. But there were two actors from Germany who were very nice, and they helped. I got to know casting directors and other actors and film directors. And so sometimes I would get new roles. Every now and then I get a new role, always a small role, usually as a spy or a German. I played a lot of Germans. I've been killed twice, I think, on screen. I had to die. I've murdered people and I've had to die. But I do enjoy it. It is nice working with Russian film crews. It is a special experience that I would say most people on the planet don't get, obviously. So I'm very, very lucky to have that.
And what about the working conditions? I've heard that it was a high stress for the whole team to shoot to shoot the movie, and you said before the camera that you were surprised how the team, the Russian people, could mobilize and provide, 110% of their capabilities in order to complete the task. So could you please tell more about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one of the factors of stress was that it was filmed in winter, so it was cold, and there was a storm. The storm blew away one of the tents with all the food. So, and people were freezing. You know, and you stood as an actor, you have to wait sometimes 20, 30 minutes, and it was cold. So stress was very high during filming. But what I've noticed with Russian film crews, instead of being 50 individuals, it would melt into one, not creature, not, but you know what I mean, yeah, like one being, that's the word I'm looking for, that would work together extremely well. And I've seen this actually quite a lot with Russians in general, the ability to go from individuals to one united force very quickly, which English people don't really have. We've had individualism kind of pushed on us as a culture, and you're supposed to only think about like yourself, not as somebody connected to your people. Whereas Russians don't have that. Russians are very much connected to each other, and if they want to become one force, it happens very quickly. And it was especially in stressful situations. So there'd be a few moments of let's say anger while the hierarchy was asserted, but eventually whoever shouted louder, which was the film director, he would shout the loudest, and all the Russians would stand like this and then like, okay, hop, 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 and the job's done. And it's just the tent's back, the ice is gone, everything's worked. It's like a clock. Honestly, it's like a clock. And it was really nice to watch it happen. In fact, do you know there's in the Hermitage Museum, I think, there's a sculpture of a swan, a metallic swan. You know the one I'm talking about? Is it in the Hermitage? And it was made like 200 years ago, and it's just unbelievably beautiful and works perfectly. I would say Russians absolutely can do that surprisingly quickly. It's much more difficult for the English, I would say.
The answer is quite easy because for centuries, when the technology were not so developed as they are now, in order to survive, especially in our climatic conditions, in our climatic zones, so you're forced to work fast and work together. Individualism won't work there because you said there are similarities between climates in Eastern England and St. Petersburg, but in general, the Russian climate is, especially during winter, isn't that soft as in Great Britain or in
it's not like
other parts of, let's say, Western Europe. So, let's say if half of the year you have snow and minus temperature, you need to be well prepared, otherwise you will not make it, you will not survive. So this is ability, I would say it's like evolutional story, I think.
I think you're absolutely correct. Yeah. It might even be in the DNA. That's highly likely.
Yeah, probably like this. But in any case, we all, I mean, British and Russians, we are northern people, and in general, we are faster than, for example, those who came from south. I don't know, Spanish or Greek people.
I was thinking Spanish.
They are more relaxed because their circumstances of life are quite different. So they tend to be in a hurry all the time because let's say 9 months per year, everything is warm and nice. You can put stick into the soil and the next day you'll get oranges. So it's quite an easy life. I'm not saying that it's very easy, but I mean, it affects the lifestyle. Yeah, easier in any case. All right. What we are going to discuss now, the Sherlock Holmes. It's my question. Let me also provide you with, the audience with the background. Of course, Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson are most known, or among most known literature figures worldwide from the Great Britain, and Arthur Conan Doyle, one of the most famous writers. And of course, there were a lot of movies shot using the scenarios, the books of Arthur Conan Doyle, as well as in Russia, in the Soviet Union. And basically, we like very much these two guys, the detective and his assistant, and their journey. You already said that we read a lot of books, and Sherlock Holmes are probably one of the most readable, I think it will be correct if I say so, books during the teenage time of any Russian schoolboy or a schoolgirl. It's like very interesting to discover Great Britain, to understand the mindset of Sherlock Holmes and how he managed to use his deductive method to discover everything. In any case, we have a very good series, not TV series, but series of movies shot like 40 years ago about Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. And some say that our actors who played there, they probably, especially the key actor who played Sherlock Holmes, probably fits the most or fits better to what Arthur Conan Doyle meant when he was writing his books. And the Great Britain, the England, is also presented in a proper manner, despite everything was shot in Russia. So we had no access to original Baker Street and to the islands in order to shoot everything from the original perspective. So how would you describe our Russian, let's say, versions of Sherlock Holmes compared to what you had in Great Britain, maybe to compare with the modern versions with Cumberbatch, for example?
All right. Well, first of all, I'd like to compare it actually to the British versions at the time that the Russian one was filmed, and they are very low quality. The British ones, unfortunately, I did some research and I watched a few. They're just not watchable.
Watchable.
It's not watchable. Yeah, it is very sad. It's almost as if the BBC needed to have something to put on the television, and they said, "Do as a Sherlock Holmes. It doesn't matter. Yeah, just." Put everybody in the costumes and read the words, and that's good enough. Whereas the Soviet one, the actors actually embodied the characters and the spirit of the books, and the music that was used was also created a real atmosphere. So I'm sure you've seen like TV programs where you turn it on, you think this is rubbish, this is terrible. There's no soul in this. I can't watch this. Whereas with the Soviet one, there's something there. It's almost physical. It's like a warmth. And they also spent a lot of time researching, I would say, the way an English house looks. Because when I first saw it, I noticed very quickly, I thought, that looks like my parents' house. Like little things that are stuck on the wall, like barometers and little boxes with butterflies. You know, my mother's literally got these things in our house, things made of pewter, and the kind of glasses, what they're called, decanters, these large glasses for pouring sherry. It was all very recognizable in the Soviet one. Whereas the British ones at the time, they looked very papery. It looked like, I don't know, everything was made of paper and very thin and not real. But if we do compare it to the modern one with Cumberbatch, which was, I would say, a very high quality production. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't like it, but it was a high quality production. It was well made. The acting was good. The actors were working hard and trying. And even though it was a more modern version of it, I would say they did quite well. I'm not a huge fan. I watched it. I was entertained, but I wasn't a huge fan. Some of the points, like the Moriarty, I didn't like very much. I thought he was overdone. I thought he over-egged the pudding. There's a phrase like that. Yeah, okay, very good. But I did enjoy watching Sherlock acting very much like. Have you ever seen Dr. House?
Yep.
So it's, I mean, essentially that's also Sherlock Holmes is Dr. House. It's just Dr. House is the doctor version of Sherlock Holmes. So they went in that direction with very sharp, offensive, this kind of English humor, which is, I would say Russians don't usually like that kind of English humor, which is very aggressive, I would say. And the Soviet one was much kinder and gentler and more similar to, I would say, a stereotypical middle-class English person would actually be, because they don't make these kinds of jokes usually.
Look, you invented the word gentleman. Gentleman is some sort of, it's not just like a status, it's a way of life. You should be polite, kind. You should express yourself in a proper, I would say, smart manner. You cannot be like a guy from a, seaport taking some bags with something, arguing with, shouting at each other, because this is not gentleman's behavior.
No, it's not. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And the Soviet version definitely embodies that philosophy much more than the modern British one, where he's not even slightly gentlemanly. Yeah, he's very rude. He's very cruel, in fact. But that's entertaining, obviously. That's more fun to watch. So I really enjoyed it. And I would also say, that when I came to Russia, a lot of Russians expected me to be similar to the Soviet Sherlock Holmes. I say, I'm English. Oh, you're English. And then I would shock them because my behavior was more like the Benedict Cumberbatch. Yeah, I was more aggressive, and I was not a very nice person, actually. But that was just the culture of the time, I would say, in England. I changed that.
You know what? I could also mention your famous actor. Actually, he made a nice and very prominent career in a Hollywood movie. Let's remember the first actor who played James Bond. Mm-hmm. A guy. I'm 2 minutes ago I said about provided an example with a guy from a seaport, but this actor was also started his career working as in a delivery. He was working in the seaport, etc. So he had abnormal accent. He was very rude, and in order to start his career as an actor, he had to study and force himself to become a gentleman. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Sean Connery.
Sean Connery, yes.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, he was awarded a title of knight, right? Knight.
Yes.
Connery.
Yeah. He's everybody. Everybody loves Sean Connery. Everybody likes Sean Connery. He is absolutely fantastic. Even in America, I won't go into Sean Connery. Sorry, I'm a big fan. I like Sean Connery, especially as he got older. I liked him even more. I didn't like him as James Bond as much as in his other roles. But I had to do something very similar when I came to Russia, because Russians expected a kind of more like a gentleman. And I realized, actually, when I got there, I thought, gosh, I want to be a gentleman. Yeah, I would like that, actually. I don't know why I behave like the guy from the seaport shouting and swearing, because I used to swear a lot when I came to Russia. And obviously swearing in Russian is very taboo compared to in English. We're very desensitized. So I had to train myself not to swear as much, to speak a little more slowly, not to make aggressive jokes. And I'm very glad that I did that. I prefer my personality now, that I kind of fit the Russian perception of what an Englishman is, than how I actually was when I arrived. So it's one of the things I'm very grateful to Russians for, is showing me that actually,
Please match our expectations.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I beg your pardon.
Great. Okay, Craig. I think we need to conclude our very interesting conversation. I liked it a lot, so I suggest, if you don't mind, that we continue it anytime soon. Probably
Absolutely.
When you will be in Russia, in order to bring you here to studio and speak with you in person, it will be much more fun. Now I know what have common between us. I also like Sean Connery, so definitely we'll speak about him more, and we'll touch the movies like Highlander, because he played a true gentleman in the Middle Ages. This is something unique. Yeah, cool. So let's take a pause, and we'll not say goodbye to each other. We'll say, okay, let's meet next time. So in our studio. Thank you very much, Craig, and hope to see you soon.
Zvezda Holding presents Dynamic Spectrum Talks now.